Our next panel, we've got Anthony Mithen here from Rosemont Stud, closest to me. On the other side of the group, we've got Sam Matthews from Swettenham Stud. So they're our two potential buyers for our mares. And an owner in Crone, absolutely, sorry. So Mitho's got 25%, so that's a vary. And our two of our new trainers, so obviously people know what sort of happened 12 odd months ago, nearly 12 months ago now, and we thought we'd take a chance on a couple of young trainers who are trying to make their way in the industry. Mick Price Jr. and, Mick Price, isn't it? Yeah. Not Mick Kent Jr. And Trent Busuttin. So in all seriousness, two trainers who we're giving some nice horses to and getting some good success on the racetrack. So the idea about getting the guys together here is to really talk to Mitho and Sam specifically around what type of broodmares they like and what attracts them. Mitho's going to give us some examples about some horses that he's racing at the moment and are heading to the breeding barn, so he can give us a couple of examples, and he's prepared to do that and give us some prices, which is really, really good of him. So, but also talk a little bit about how Rosemont's going. Now, I remember hearing from you on television about 12 months ago where Hugh Bowman was telling you how good your race colours look, but they never used to go around very much. And you got a little bit offended by that. But in the last 12 months, we're seeing plenty of the Rosemont colours go around. Is that a direction that you guys have wanted to take? You race a lot more of your own and obviously you've got a bigger broodmare band now and a good stallion roster. So tell us a bit about Rosemont, mate, and how it's all going.
Yeah, that was a bit of a slap in the face. I clearly needed to double my efforts when Huey said, I like the look of your colours, but they don't go around very often. I don't see them much. So red with the white line on the front are our colours, and they have become probably more prominent since then. We are keen on racing. We're a breed-to-race operation that sells to try and pay a few bills and hopefully balance the books a little. So we mainly sell our colts and keep fillies to race, hopefully to black type status. The one exception is, of course, Crone, who races in the roll of the dice colours, because we were very magnanimous about that and kept a quarter of her and said, we like your colours as well, so let's stick them on. But we're still building our broodmare band, so it makes sense for our business model to be racing the fillies that we breed, believing in our own product, and we've had some really good success, and our stats are backing that up from a sale ring performance. You know, stakes horses like Santa Ana Lane and Crone and Thrillster and Haydock, Montoya's Secret, they've all come off our farm and most of them have gone through a sale ring and been available for purchase. So why wouldn't we keep the product that we're making down there at Rosemont? So these guys are both trained for us, and we've got a set of colours proudly. Well, I hope they're proudly hanging in their jockey's room before they go off to the races. So it's an exciting time for us, and racing horses like Crone and Thrillster, and hopefully Brooklyn Hustle's in for a nice prep coming up. Californian Honey with you. You couldn't get a win out of that big filly, could you? It was by Americane though, Sam. So yeah, we'll blame the stallion. So and I'll let the lads have a say before. And do you want me to roll with a few of those examples of the Thrillster story is probably the one that relates to. I believe there's quite a few of you in Anjana and Crone in the room, and Twitchy Frank. So those valuable horses can cause some consternation, and I think that it's a great idea of Roll the Dice to put all you guys in the room and just preempt what can happen, because it can come as a shock if you just go your share of a racehorse, you're interested in a horse and you want to go racing, and suddenly you've got a valuable asset on your hands. And what I've always tried to do, and I don't know that these guys will necessarily agree with this, I'll get your opinion in a minute, but I always maintain that you as an owner, you own that asset. And whether you own 10%, 5%, it's a bit hard with any less than that, I suppose, to really dig heels in. But it is your asset to do with what you like, and there are options now to to turn that asset into cash or continue on with it. And I'd encourage everyone just to make the decision based on what's good for them, but in a fair-minded sense. And we had that exact scenario with Thrillster just recently. She did a suspensory. We rehabbed her back at the farm. She's a stakes winner. She won the Atlantic Jewel, which was run last weekend. She won that last year. Yeah, she beat Crone. We ran third, didn't we? Yeah. So it was a funny old day for us having ownership of two place getters in a stakes race. But she looked like she could have been Group 1 class. Unfortunately, she can't race on at 4. We tried to rehab her. Suspensory came back not up to scratch. We own 50% of her. So there's 50% other ownership that are friends and clients of the Corsten stable. And there was as little as 5%. There were 5% owners in her. We were the majority shareholder. We went to the ownership group and said, look, everyone's in. We want to keep her. And we are more than happy to just turn her now racehorse into broodmare. And that's the easiest fit for everyone. Let's go breeding. Got a booking to Rubik. We're off. Hopefully, you'll have the faith in us that we'll breed her successfully and properly and choose the right stallion with the resources we've got at Rosemont, and you guys can come along for the ride, managed by Rosemont. 25% said that sounds great to us. We are on board. We're ready to go. We want to race the first foal or fillies out of Thrillster and sell the colts. However you want to manage that, Rosemont, we're happy to go. The other 25%, we want the cash. So we went through a very simple and what we thought was a fair way to go. We got Magic Millions and Inglis to value the horse, and we got an independent bloodstock agent. They came back varied, which makes it tricky, and we gave that information, disseminated that information through the owners. One valuation was 320,000, and one valuation, and the highest one was 450 to 500, and that was the two sales companies. I won't say which was which, and the independent Seamus Mills, who'd be known to all of us as an independent bloodstock agent. He valued her at 400. So we thought the fair thing to do was put her, and before that happened, I valued her at between 350 and 400, and we offered the ownership group 400,000. They mulled over that, the 25%, and they came back to me today. That all happened last week. They came back to me today and accepted the offer. And their other option was to go to an online auction and sell your share on English Digital online. Everyone's entitled, or go and seek out a independent agent and get them to sell it for you, with the rules applying that 75% of the ownership are happy with it going to Rosemont, and Rosemont being the manager. It was a really simple, easy fix, and it was an enjoyable experience. I had a good chat to the outgoing owners today, and they'll go on another horse with us, no problems at all. So I think that works as a pragmatic approach, Mick, and gives everyone ownership and a real ownership. No one's had their hand forced.
Well, in your case, it worked. So I think. But you had 3 independent valuations and tossed the balls up in the air and came to a good conclusion where everyone's happy. So it sounds like it was well handled and no commission.
Well, that's it. Yeah. Sorry, lads. If I can ask you the question, Mick, and Trent, have you had, for one of a better phrase, have you had shit fights over selling nice fillies at where there's a split camp of what people want to do?
Oh, look, I think if you handle it the right way, people are pretty much across it, and you get it over the line without too much drama. I've had fillies that have been sold privately and fillies that have gone through the ring. I think your 5-year-old mare, minimum 20 starts, maximum 30, somewhere in about there. I can usually tell what's there for the next year, and people seem to me to be pretty keen to get them through a sale and get them off to the breeders. So I think, the ones we've sold, like Oregon's Day was a perfect example. I think she had 28, 29 starts, and, she was ready to go. She was ready to go to stud. So she made a mill, and the owners were all happy. We had Pedrina, I think, was private negotiation at 400, only because she missed the sale. Secret Agenda missed the sale, I think. She was supposed to go through Magic Millions. I think she made 1.35 or something, private. That big staying mare, I had that Sebring mare. I forget now what her name was, but she made 380. But O'Brien and no, they owned half anyway. So a bunch of racing people, the guy that asked that question before. As a racing person, do you want to keep your brood mare and go through all the hassle? Well, I find if you're racing, it's exciting, and if you're breeding, it's where's the adrenaline come from? You wait a couple of years and you put your horse through the ring and get some money. But I think people like racing because they like the sport part of it. There's not much sport in breeding. There's good money if you get it right. But that's been my experience. That it's up to the individual. But racing's racing and breeding's breeding. Trent.
Yeah, we had a similar filly, Snogging, that she's just on the cusp of group. She was Group 3 placed in the autumn. She's well bred. I'm Invincible, and the two owners are 50%, and it was come to the end of this season, and one wanted to sell and one wanted to keep racing it, so it was pretty simple. They put it in the June sale, and with sort of a limited reserve, and it met its mark, and one of the owners bought the other one back, bought the other one out, so she'll continue on racing, and one will be right and one will be wrong, but they were both happy with the way it turned out, so you've just got to play each case individually, I suppose, but like Mick and Mithen said, probably, there's as many disappointments in there are as racing, there's 10 times as many trying to breed one, and I think your money's better off going, getting the cash, and then you can go to the yearling sales and pick the finished article, pick one without problems and the one you want.
It's hard enough to find ones with good confirmation that go any good. Sorry. It's hard enough to find the ones from the sales with good confirmation, let alone what comes out of a mare. You could have anything, couldn't you?
Yeah, like we've had a very brief dabble in the breeding, and sort of we had one mare that was okay bred and raced well, and we went to Tavistock 3 times, and we got three fillies that none of them made it to the sales and none of them made it to the racetrack. So we've hung up the hat very quickly.
That hurts a lot.
Just going to go and hand over to Sam, and Sam, sort of give you the opportunity too to talk a little bit about Swettenham, because you've you, Adam specifically, and yourself, been working really hard at improving your stallion roster, and you've got some really exciting young stallions, and you guys are probably a little bit similar to Mithen, looking to race a few more at the moment. So maybe give us a bit of a background on Swettenham and where you're currently at.
Thanks, Leigh. I suppose we're probably where Mithen was, but on a smaller scale, 12 months ago, where we had 2 horses in the colours 12 months ago. We're going to have 42 in the colours by the end of the year. So we're really starting to get back into the racing because, like everyone said here, the excitement's not in the breeding. And we had a recent filly that we bought for £50,000 in the UK. She had, I think she was 4 starts for duck eggs, by Deep Impact. She then won her next 2. She was stakes placed. Everyone that was in her to buy her, to race, then breed. We got an offer of £500,000 and we said, take it. There's absolutely no chance we're going to make $1 million out of this. All the risk is going to be on the person that bought it, and they bought it, and she'll be bred. So we bought that horse for breeding, and then we got to the stage where we're much better off selling it. So the commercial aspect, even from a stud point of view, you get to a stage where the money's too irresistible. So moral of the story is sell. Absolutely sell. But even if she was to come down here, our stallion roster where we sit with a filly valued at $1 million, there probably wouldn't be a stallion in Victoria that would be good enough for her. So we'd have to put I'm Invincible, $250,000 into her, 3 years before we got a return. So we would have basically $2 million worth of risk before we had any chance of getting anything back. So I think it's that sort of supply and demand and the opportunity to get anything back. You've got some incredible fillies and get them on the market, and now's a great time.
I'll just go to you, Mitho. Maybe just give us a little bit of insight into when you're looking at the broodmare sales. What type of mare are you looking for? Is it to match your stallions that you've currently got? I mean, Seamus Award at the moment, getting some good racetrack success, more specifically. But are you looking to buy broodmares that match up to say someone like him or one of your other stallions?
It's funny. It's a bit like trying to pick a yearling. You've got so much variety. You know, Trent has built a reputation of having stayers. Mick's trained Blue Diamond winners and good with the 2-year-olds, and they you get branded that, don't you? I suppose, and it can be a bit the same in a broodmare sense that. It's horses for courses, and there's so much variety. I mean, both the sales companies offer that Magic Million sale. There's 1,000 mares. Simon, you're between Great Southern and the Easter sales. There'd be close to 1,000 mares. So there's 2,000 mares on offer. I'm a bit of a. I like the old biddy. I like to buy a mare that's actually already done it and has already and that's how we ended up with a mare called Catshan, who is the mother of Absolutely, who'd won the AJC Oaks, and we didn't have to pay a lot of money for her. She was pregnant to Manhattan Rain, and we paid $160 for her. In the meantime, while we were growing out that Manhattan Rain, out popped Abby Marie to win the Group 1 South Australian Oaks. So suddenly she's the mother of 2 Group 1 winners. And the foal in utero by Manhattan Rain turned out to be Runaway, who gave us a great thrill last year, winning the Geelong Cup and being one of only 2 Australian-bred runners in the Melbourne Cup. So, I mean, those mares that have done it in the past, they'll often do it for you in the future as well. So, and I find that we all go looking for the new shiny toy, whether it be at a yearling sale with the first season sires or at a broodmare sale, you're looking for that young mare who that's why you get the premium for a Thrillster or a Crone or a Anjana. You get they're looking. That's exactly what the market's looking for. So I try and look a little bit around that. I note with interest at the Keeneland sales overnight. You might have seen that Curlin that was the. Anyway, there was a horse that made $5 million, effectively Aussie. I can't exactly remember how it was bred. No, it wasn't the Bounding. That's what I was going to say. I got them confused. But there was a New Zealand mare that produced an American-bred foal that made the equivalent of about 8.2 million or 9 million Aussie dollars, which is just amazing money. That mare was bought for 1.9 million Oz at the sales at Magic Millions a couple of years ago. But there was another extraordinary result out of a mare who was 23 years of age, and she produced a $5 million foal. So I'm a bit of a believer that there's value in those older mares that have got 5 or 6. They've got there's some longevity about them. 13, 14 in good nick, have produced a good horse. If we breed them right again, we might be able to see if lightning strikes twice. So I don't know. What's Oh yeah, there were, and she was an older mare as well. I bought a mare in Ireland last December at the Goff sale. She had a beautiful pedigree. She had a bit of age on her. She was 12 years of age. She'd had 4 or 5 foals already. She had a Frankel 2-year-old that had won a race, and I watched the replay. I thought that looks okay. She wasn't in foal. Quite often those mares won't attract many bids at all because you're looking to buy the 2-in-1 package, the mare plus the foal. So I bought her for €8,000, equivalent of, she landed back in Australia for about 25 or 30 grand. And the 2-year-old turned 3, ends up being a horse called Medaya that's won a Group 2 in France. It ran second, just beaten a lip in the Nassau Stakes Group 1 level, and it's favourite for the L'Opera next month in France on Arc Day, and is still in the betting for the Arc as well. And she's probably worth somewhere in the vicinity of £300,000 or £400,000. So you can find those rare diamonds. they're silly stories to tell in some ways because that doesn't happen. And when they happen to people who are buying lots of mares and spreading their risk, which is what we're doing because we've got a 3,000 acre farm and we need to fill the bloody thing. So, Sam, I know you're at Swettenham really searching high and wide and all over the globe for the right stock to make sure that Swettenham continues to forge forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Our model's probably a little bit different to Mitho's model, and it's funny that every farm's got their different idea about what to buy. Ours is probably buy a mare that's had 1 or 2 foals that you think has a bit of upside. You'll call the trainers and find out if they've got a 2-year-old that goes okay, buy the mare and have a bit of a crack that way. But we're probably more purely value searchers and then align them to the stallions versus trying to buy something that's produced a Group 1 winner. Because the investment for us is more so from a stallion point of view at this stage, as we try to build our broodmare band, which is probably only 45 mares at this stage versus 160, which means 300. We're just at that sort of value search stage, and if we find one that's the right sort of horse that we want to buy, we'll buy it sort of 50 to 100. But we're not in the bracket of buying sort of $500,000 fillies at this stage, and that's just sort of the business model as to where it sits.
Just pass over to the trainers now, Mick. What's it like losing a good horse like that to the breeding barn? Not just fillies, but also colts and potentially even other horses to Hong Kong. And I mean, it must be incredibly frustrating. But how do you deal with that?
No, it's fine. It depends on your numbers, and you're there to service your client anyway. So, like I said before, I think 20 starts is about minimum. 30 starts, you're really having to think about your mare on the track. You're trying to look after them, and plus, I like to see my mares in the catalogue over the years that throw good horses. For some reason, I don't like to go too far with them as a number of starts. So the whole cycle rolls on. I think if you're buying a lot of yearlings and getting them done, then there's your business model, So we got 75 in work, and we probably need 80 to 100 yearlings every year, and I'm never worried about selling them. That's what we do.
Do you like buying? Do you like buying out of? Sorry, yeah. Do you like buying out of the mares that you've trained and Trent?
Well, the ones that are good, that are black type, they get some expensive foals. So I'm usually sitting there watching someone else buy them. But I just say it's a matter of respect for your mare, and not to overuse her and see her become a good brood mare, and leave plenty of life left in her. I'm happy with that. I think it works okay.
Yeah, I just think it's part of the game. And basically what's ultimately good for your clients is, it's good for you. So if they're getting good money, whether it be to Hong Kong or as a broodmare, they're going to reinvest. And if they've had a good experience, they're hopefully going to reinvest with you. So it sort of goes around everywhere. If it's good for them, it's good for us.
I guess we all dream of getting that, $50 million colt and, selling it off and having the life-changing moment. Most nights. I guess, and I'll probably ask you all the same question. I think it'd be good for everyone to have an opinion on this. Fillies, they are a bit better to have because, if they do get that little bit of black type in them, that residual really climbs quickly. Whereas if you're getting that colt, they've got to be really top class to get that big payday. So, question to you, Mithen, breeding and keeping your fillies, if you can get that black type or even city wins, you're already getting your money back on what you've invested. So, are you looking to buy those yourself, Mick and Trent, and yourself too, Mithen, when you're breeding your fillies?
I think it's ambition versus ability is often the key, and I'm if I didn't say this, Mick, it'd clip me behind the ear because us owners can get a bit excited about our horses, can't we? No one threw themselves under a bus with an unraced 2-year-old, so we all think we're going to win the Blue Diamond and the Golden Slipper, but there is a time, and you get it right and wrong. We threw Thrillsters little sister actually into a stakes race at Moonee Valley, and we happened to lob into a week stakes race at the Valley. She poked up the inside, God bless her, and she stuck her nose down and got third at her first race start. And we were going to go to a maiden at Pakenham, but we pulled the right rein, got stakes placing. She's still yet to win a race, mind you, but she's stakes placed, which vindicated the decision to go that way. And I think that you need that bit of a relationship with your trainers, and you need to be able to hear this horse isn't up to that. This horse is not quite good enough for that. And actually, Mick, you can tell the story. We've got a horse called Californian Honey that you threw in the deep end and ran in a stakes race. She ran fourth in it, and we put her out. She's come back in, and she ran second in a maiden last start. I spoke to Mick last week, and you said, look, I don't think she's black type, but she's run fourth for you in a group race, and we'll win a couple of races with you. And you never know if your luck's in on the day and we get the right race, maybe.
Yeah. We just about assessing your horse, isn't it? But as to the question whether you, as a trainer, like your colts or fillies.
Yeah, like the good residual that you get with a filly for not having to reach the very top, as opposed to the pups that you've got.
I would just. Look, I love my colts. We got a stable full of colts. We have a stable specifically for the colts, where fillies are not usually allowed into that main barn. They're either colts or geldings, but colts are, they can show on the racetrack what they don't show on race day sometimes because they are colts. But I still like them, and I still like training them, and we've had some massive results with colts. So I'm going to keep trying, even if they're, no matter what they're worth. I think if we go an extra preparation as colts, and if they have to be gelded, we geld them. But I don't have any real preference, but I do like my colts, and plenty of fillies come your way anyway. So you can't just chop the balls off them all,
Obviously we're a younger stable. We've only been here a little while, so we haven't had a huge amount of the colts coming through, but it's like winning Powerball, but I suppose you've got to dream big. Knowing what buys are yielding to sort of win a maiden at Kyneton or wherever, but that's where they end up. You're sort of trying to buy that golden slipper or that Guineas winner. So we've got no preferences. If it's a good horse, we're happy either way, colts or fillies.
I suppose from our point of view, even from a punting point of view, your fillies are probably 3-1, and you roll the dice, and some of them lob, and you get a chance a bit of black type, or your colts are 150-1, and when you get one, it's a huge win, but you've probably had 55 other bets or 1,000 other bets to try to get there. So we only race fillies. That's our model, is that we will retain all of our fillies this year and race all of them, and we'll only purchase fillies to race, because once the snip goes, it's only racing for those colts now geldings, and that's just not what our model sits at the moment. It's just purely race the fillies.
Well, and what we love about both these horses, as Mick said, the Rubik filly chosen by Jeremy Rogers, who Mahuda, Crone, Anjana, Steve, help me out here. I think he's chosen majority of our good horses. Scottish Dancer, heard of him. He's going around on Saturday, and we won't let Mick go without his last word on that. But also, if Jeremy doesn't choose our horses, a bloke by the name of John Foote generally does. So, widely renowned as probably one of the better or the best bloodstock agents going around. I know Swettenham and Adam have a very strong relationship with John. And Trent loves getting his hands on footy's horses, as does Mick. And Mick's got that lovely deep field colt chosen by John. So we do as much as we can to find the right horses for you guys. And certainly I'd like to think we're punching above our weight with 30-odd horses in our stable. And last year's stats, we put them right on the front of the website to let people know how good we're going. 15% winners to runners isn't too bad for a team with 30 horses and around 40% place strike rate, but when you look at our stakes winners to runners, it's sitting at 15%. So I'm sure a lot of trainers and owners would be pretty happy with a strike rate like that. So we're doing things right. We're picking the right horses. It doesn't always mean that we get the right horses, and of course, we can't guarantee that. Unfortunately, Tone, we'd love that. If you could design that algorithm for us and we can punch that into the computer, that'd be terrific, because we would just start a factory. Hopefully we've given you enough information about, not giving you a valuation on the current fillies, but we know they're worth something, and you've got an asset, and hopefully we can realise that asset and sell them at the right time, or do a deal with Mitho around Crone, and if you want to stay in, you heard the Thrillster story, so there's an opportunity there. Just wanted to say thanks very much for everyone for coming. Hope you enjoyed the session, and like I said, while the guys are in the room, I think Simon and Tim and the guys are still around, so if you want to talk to the bloodstock agents, then go and bail them up in the corner and see how much your mare's worth. Good on you. Thanks, guys.